Local union reaction as the Canada Post labor dispute continues. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Ryan Benazzo. The local president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers is happy to see that members here and across the country have rejected Canada Post's latest contract offer. Voting wrapped up on Friday and nearly 70% of both bargaining units voted no. The union now hopes to get back to the table for what it calls a fair negotiation. Jessica Clement has the details.
Canada Post workers rejected the employer's latest offer after being forced to vote around 2 weeks ago. The results saw 69.4% of rural mail carriers and 68.5% of urban mail carriers voting against the offer. CUPW Local 620 President Leo Favreau says he's very satisfied with how the vote turned out.
Canada Post did exert a lot of pressure on everybody to vote yes. And I am really impressed with the numbers that we got and the people that are just sick and tired of all this. I do realize some people did vote yes, and I'm hoping that we can, make them happy as well. But we do want to put an end to this. So, yeah, it's a no. Let's get back to the table.
Canada Post's final offer included a total 13% raise over 4 years. The union is seeking 19%. The local branch represents around 260 postal workers across northwestern Ontario. Favreau notes they won't go into arbitration at this point, adding that they went back to the table before the end of the vote. He hopes the union and corporation can bargain in good faith.
They've had us run through the coals, and we've done everything that they've asked. We just want to sit down and have a fair negotiation.
Canada Post released a statement after the vote results were released late on Friday, stating this means negotiations between the parties remain unresolved. While we are disappointed in the results, we want to thank employees for participating in the process. This result means the uncertainty that has been significantly impacting our business will continue. We are evaluating our next steps. Favreau says he's questioning management's motivations.
I think the agenda is still privatization. And to me, you privatize Canada Post, what's next? So I'm hoping they can settle. I'm hoping they can figure something out. I would really like the government to start looking at management now after doing everything they've done to the union. How somebody can be in power and lose $750,000 a year for 7 years, you really got to question that.
Favreau says the union will continue its work to rule, which includes refusing overtime. Jessica Clement, TBT News.
The Trans-Canada Highway west of Ignace was closed to all traffic today due to a fatal single-vehicle collision involving a motorcycle. It happened early this afternoon near the intersection of Highway 622. Dryden OPP are advising the public to avoid the area and plan an alternate route, as the closure is expected to last for some time. A Toronto man who pleaded guilty to manslaughter in a Thunder Bay homicide case has been handed an 8-year prison sentence. 27-year-old Javon Myers was originally charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of 24-year-old Michael Park, who is also from Toronto. The fatal incident happened in October of 2022 near the Arthur and May Street area. The court heard the victim sprayed bear mace in Myers' apartment. Myers then grabbed a handgun and pursued Park. He eventually spotted him between two buildings and fired several shots at him and fled. Park was rushed to hospital but died of his injuries. The Crown and the defense both agreed to an 8-year sentence, and the judge confirmed it. With credit for time already spent behind bars since his arrest, Myers will serve another 4 years and 2 months in custody. Thunder Bay Police are sounding the alarm about increases in stunt driving and people driving under the influence after 2 dramatic crashes over the long weekend. The first happened on Gore Street shortly after 8 o'clock Sunday night, where a 32-year-old man tried to race a train to a railway crossing before becoming airborne and crashing into a utility pole. There were 4 people inside, and one of the passengers suffered serious injuries. The driver was charged with impaired driving and dangerous driving causing bodily harm. The second incident happened just after 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon. A 25-year-old man crashed into a tree on Duke Street and then left the scene. He was charged with impaired driving, dangerous driving, and public mischief. Traffic Sergeant Sal Carchidi says the increase in speeding and impaired driving is a major concern.
It's alarming. There is a direct correlation to speed as well as collisions. And when drivers are involved in collisions at those speeds, there's then a direct correlation to the extent of injuries. So any increase in speed, even somebody traveling 15 kilometers over the speed limit, significantly increases the risk of injury to themselves or other drivers.
A garage and 2 vehicles were destroyed by a fire in Westfort yesterday. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. A neighbor captured the inferno on video. It broke out around 12:30 Monday afternoon in the 300 block of West Amelia Street. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue says a homeowner called 911 after they saw black smoke pouring from the structure. Fire crews used a lot of water to bring the blaze under control, and neighbors used their own hoses to spray a fence and keep the flames from spreading. Along with the garage and the 2 vehicles, the fire also damaged a neighbor's garden. According to witnesses, the garage had been rented out as a vehicle workshop. Fire officials haven't released a cause, but they're reminding the public to use caution when repairing motor vehicles and to call 911 immediately when an emergency occurs. A British Columbia man is now cycling back to Vancouver after a successful journey across Canada to support research for AS, a form of arthritis that affects the spine. Tyler Ashton is one of those who suffers from the condition, and he's decided to double up on his ride called Electrify AS. His bicycle journey began on the shores of British Columbia and led him through the heart of Canada to the East Coast and then back to Niagara Falls. But Ashton says once the journey was done 2 weeks ago, he wanted to keep going to try to raise even more support to fight AS. The inflammatory disease can cause some of the bones in the spine to fuse over time. Ashton says once he finished his original race, he felt like he needed to see it all the way through back home into BC.
I guess when I got to Cape Spear, it kind of felt like the relay cone at the end of the track, and it was just like, I didn't have that full sense of accomplishment that I thought I would have, and I kind of knew in that moment that I had to ride back. So I think it is solidified, like I said, on the Trans-Canada Trail just outside of Halifax. And, the gravel was so large, one wrong move, and I blew a rim, and it's just disaster. And I'm in the middle of the bush, and the consequences are so high, and I knew in that moment, I'm like, I need to follow through and get across the country.
When Ashton reaches BC again, he'll have traveled over 15,000 kilometers across Canada and back. The Moose will be on the loose when a new play called Moosewater Ontario makes its local debut later this week. It's being produced by New Noise Productions and will be presented at the Cambrian Players Theatre on Spring Street. The play is described as a raunchy, entertaining punk rock comedy about small-town life in northwestern Ontario.
What's up, y'all? I'm Tumbleweed, straight G, born bred, Moosewater, Ontario. Got a few tracks for y'all tonight, maybe some freestyle.
The play also goes by another name that we can't say on TV. It tells the story of a man from Moosewater, Ontario, who's trying to make his way in life while pursuing his artistic aspirations through less than legal means. Written by Andrew Paulson and directed by Stephanie Celine, the play features a lot of local actors and crew. The show has been in the works for roughly 15 years, and Celine says local audiences will recognize a lot of quirks from this region in the play.
It's extremely Northern Ontario. This play takes place in Northern Ontario. It's about the people in Northern Ontario, and you're going to recognize all the characters, and it's just really great to be able to show kind of a different side of where we grew up.
It's going to be so much fun. I mean, it's crazy. It's rough and tumble. I get beat up and bruised up and things like that, and it's something that you don't see very often in theater.
The show is meant for those 16 years and older. It runs from Thursday to Saturday, and then from August 14th to the 16th, tickets are available online on Eventbrite. On the waters of the Cam River, Jamie Zarowski is keeping maritime history alive, one handcrafted boat at a time. Zarowski has built 8 vessels so far. His newest creation is a 22-foot steamboat nicknamed Full Steam. Jacob Hamilton has the story.
From wooden canoes to rugged steel boats, Jamie Zarowski has built 8 boats in his life so far. But his most unique creations are old-fashioned steamboats. He built one back in 2015, and it certainly turned a lot of heads when he'd take it down the Cam River. Now he's built his second steamboat. It's a 22-footer he calls Full Steam. Using a blueprint from the 1960s, Zarowski spent from January to October 2023 piecing it together from scratch. And the only thing he didn't put together on his own was the engine, which came all the way from Louisiana. And despite being built in the 1800s, Zarowski pushed the limits of the engine.
So last summer I put over 600 kilometers on it. I took it about 30 times, and it cost me about 40 bucks in gear oil just to lubricate the engine. That was it.
Now, Full Steam isn't built for racing, as its top speed is just 20 kilometers per hour. But as the saying goes, life slows down on the river. And Zarowski says he's in no rush when he's riding full steam along the Cam.
Honestly, I love this boat. I could stay on it all day. Just the reactions from kids, people, everyone runs down to the bank, takes pictures, videos, and it's very economical. I get all my wood for free from neighbors.
And if there's one lesson Zarowski learned with building wooden boats, it's that he's done with it. No more gluing, fiberglassing, or laminating, as Zarowski fondly remembers some of his favorite memories from building Full Steam.
I guess just the process of putting it all together, trying to source like the boiler tubes. I had a price from a guy in BC, he wanted $15,000 for 51 48-inch boiler tubes, and I found a place in Michigan. I got it for $1,500, you know. It's always a challenge, find stuff, especially when you're building a boat that you want to keep to the period, 1800s, you know. It's a challenge finding the parts on eBay or sourcing them anywhere you could find them.
Anyone wanting to see Zarowski's steamboat, you can catch Full Steam heading up and down the Cam River this summer. And he sometimes makes visits to Marina Park as well. Jacob Hamilton, TBT News.
Cool. A lot of time and a lot of patience went into building that. And Haley, it's not a bad day, actually, if you want to get out on the water. It was, temperatures were nice. We saw some sun. Pretty good day overall.
Yeah, no complaints. It's not really full steam ahead into this week. It's a bit of a slow start after enjoying that long weekend, but no complaints because we had a high of 23 today with a humidex making it feel like 28, which really is hovering right around seasonal for this time of year. Very comfortable for sure. Winds also calm for the most part. Did get a little gusty from the east at times, but only up to 28 kilometers an hour later in the afternoon. And our low of 10 was also very seasonal, and that was around 7 in the morning. So all in all, a very comfortable, normal day with a mix of sun and cloud. Now, some clouds did feel a little darker at times. Now, there was about a 30% chance of showers for part of the day with a risk of thunderstorm, and we're still kind of sitting in that right now. That'll linger for a little bit, but we'll look at the region before I dive deeper into that. For the most part, really lovely seasonal day for almost everywhere. We're seeing temperatures at the high of the day for almost everywhere on our map right now, around 25, 26 degrees for most places. Humidex, though, definitely playing a factor. For most places, they saw a humidex at between 29, and we saw a humidex of 32 in Fort Frances at the peak of their day. They're mainly sunny right now. Most areas saw that mix of sun and cloud. Now, one thing that we also have to recognize too is how nice it was today that we weren't under a smoke advisory. There was not as much smoky conditions today, but there were a few smoky areas within the region, still Red Lake being one of those places that still does have a bit of a statement, a weather statement in Environment Canada's page saying that they could still look out for some smoky conditions localized within that area. A few other places saw some haze in the morning. That was Greenstone. They're now mostly cloudy with their high of 25. Wawa was particularly smoky today as well. They're at 23, and Sault Ste. Marie started the day fairly sunny, but they are under some hazy conditions at this hour at 27 degrees with a humidex of 31. Now for tonight, like I mentioned earlier, we do have a 30% chance of showers until a little bit after 10 o'clock this evening. It does come with a risk of thunderstorms, and then after that, just partly cloudy conditions. A low of 14, which is slightly above seasonal for this time of year, and winds will still be steady from the east, fairly light overnight. So who knows, 30% isn't a great chance for showers, Ryan, but it is still a possibility in the next few hours. And boy, when we look at the rest of the week, that chance isn't going away. If anything, we might see a better chance of showers. So I'll get into that a little bit later.
All right, can't wait. We do need the rain,
Yes.
however, of course, as we know, with all those wildfires burning all across the country.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Haley.
No